And we are rolling on October 6th at UCLA. It's a beautiful day in Los Angeles. And we're about to hear from Liz, who will share with us her experiment in communicating respect non-verbally for the last week or two.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz.
Hi Liz.
Today I'll be speaking about my experiences with respect for this past week. I know the experiment was only assigned for like that weekend, but ever since the assignment, ever since now that I've turned it in, I've been communicating respect non-verbally and have tried to do so more often than I usually do. And more in a non-verbal way, because I usually communicated in like nonchalant verbal way, the mechanical way that we're used to doing it. So today I'm going to tell you 3 stories about my experience throughout this whole time, the good, the bad, and the ugly. So the good involves turning a bad situation good. So I actually hold some leadership positions up on the Hill, which allow me to communicate with like parents or communicate with residents like very well. So last weekend, well, when it was a weekend on Friday, I had some residents moving in late, and I had some parents that were really, I don't know, like I guess they had caught onto traffic, the weather was really hot, and I don't know, they were just being just rude and like really disrespectful to our community and to our staff. They had like a lot of concerns that they wanted to be addressed immediately. So I was like the person on call that day, so I had to like deal with the parents, and my first response was to be really defensive, and you know, because they're entering our community and like they're being extremely disrespectful. But instead of that, like I just held back and like I let her speak, because when people are like irritated and people are like flustered, they just like want their concerns to be met immediately. So I just let her speak. I let her voice any of her concerns. I let her know that I was listening to her by like eye contact. I didn't interrupt anything that she was saying. I was like really respectful. Well, I tried to be really respectful. And it actually turned out like really well. I suggested to her like if she wanted to voice her concerns to someone higher, that she could talk to her resident director. But she ended up not wanting to talk to her, because I guess she felt that I was like really listening to her. And we actually solved her concerns right and then. So she just like thanked me like right after. She was like, "Thank you, I really appreciate that you were listening." Actually, and she apologized because she knew that she was being really irrational. So that was like a good situation, especially when it's like someone that's like older than you and you're not like at the same level. So it was pretty good. And then we have the bad, which involve, well, I call it holding up the line. So I was actually in BCAP this past weekend, and usually lines are extremely long. So I was just waiting in line, and then I was up at the cashier. I was trying to voice my respect, well, non-verbally as well. But every time, like, the cashier was looking down, and she never like really looked at me or like made eye contact with me, and I just felt like I was just like another order that needed to be processed, which technically I am, because like it's her job to like just swipe everyone in and get everyone's order. But I don't know, I felt like a smile or like, you know, something would have been nice. But she was just looking at the register the whole time, and like she asked me, "What do you want?" Like looking down at the register, she could just like type it in and swipe my card. So that was like a little bit, I don't know, like, yeah. And then we have the ugly, which I would say like UCLA culture. Because we all have mentioned and we all have noticed throughout like UCLA, everyone's like mostly at their phone, minding their own business. You know, we're all like narrow-sighted. We're like really goal-oriented. So like if our class is our next goal, we go and just aim to be like in class. So I wanted to like just walk around, you know, whenever I had like free time within classes, just like sit down, try to like, you know, make contact with people, smile and stuff. But it never like really worked. People never like really paid attention to me, for the same that people are just like really goal oriented and like they're like just go to the place they need to go. So that was like really like, I guess like the ugly experience for me, like kind of like really noticing, like letting it settle down that like people don't really have the time or choose not to communicate with others. So that's like a little of like my experience, what I learned. But I also like learned that it's easier to communicate nonverbal respect with someone you're actually having a conversation with. So in my with my first story, like I was able to communicate nonverbal respect easier because I was actually having like a conversation with the individual, unlike with the cashier and with like random students at UCLA.
Thank you. Well, it's 4:09. Let's start over here today.
Hi, I'm Bree.
Hi, Bree.
So I thought that you spoke very well, like your voice was very loud, and I understood everything that you said. I don't have really anything else to say.
Thank you, Bree. What would you like to see her do differently that would improve her speech?
Hi, my name's Nancy.
Hi, Nancy.
And I think it would just be what a lot of us have trouble with, which is what likes and or
Sure.
just ending a sentence.
Sure. Let's start with that, Liz. When you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, count the likes, quite a few, and have your, when you practice with a live person next time for your next speech, have them raise their hand every time you say a like, because you're just doing it unconsciously. You do it quite often, and that'll help you get out of the habit of it, and you'll be much more effective, because it does distract from the power of your message, throwing in all those likes. Speaking of like, I liked your speech a lot. You spoke extemporaneously, without notes, and said it in your own words. I would have liked to have a little more distinct introduction. A poem, a quote, a story, or a rhetorical question. You just started sort of with some observations about life, and it wasn't much to tie back to in the end, say. So we got the preview down, good, the bad, the ugly. We knew what was coming. And I liked your first story of how you handled the irate mother. And you just kept repeating the mantra and let her blow until she blew out. And then, assisted her. And I think keeping your center and your calm in this situation is desirable. The weekend, the swipe girl, I've heard many stories about that. It's really hard to break through her. So don't feel too bad. On your ugly, I would still keep trying to just repeat your mantra and get it so it's a habit for you. Also, the final thing is when you watch yourself tonight, you'll see you're doing this with your hands, and you'll want to keep them by your side and gesturing. But overall, you did a really nice job. You're a very likable speaker, so keep up the good work. Thank you. Okay, the camera's rolling. My battery is running down. Okay, I guess there's no more respect speeches. Let's start the intro. Perfect. She's managing attention. She's talking. Communicating respect non-verbally. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name. Feel the love she's writing. Say your speech.
Hi everyone, Michelle.
Hi, Michelle.
So I'm sure you all know the quote or the saying, you should treat others how you wish to be treated. So I believe respect is one of these treatments that everyone should practice with each other. So 2 weekends ago, I tried to practice non-verbal respect to everyone I met. Unfortunately, when I interacted with strangers, there wasn't really much any notable outcomes. The biggest thing was maybe a smile and a wave back. Other than that, I just wasn't noticed. So I will So instead, I will be telling you just one good story that happened with my father over that weekend. So I come from a family of 7, and we're not really close. We don't really interact with each other. So over that weekend, I really tried to make it visible that I respected my father for everything he's done. So the first thing I did was I volunteered to go shopping with him, which he usually only does with my little brother or alone. And from the start, I knew he appreciated the company because he was definitely a lot more talkative than usual. We actually had a long conversation during the whole trip, which is actually very unique for my family because since we don't actually interact with each other, we don't have long, continuous conversations. And he was also very patient with me while I browsed the aisles because girls can take a while. And he even offered to buy me some stuff, so I felt really happy about that. When we got home, I tried to do the chores without him having to do it himself or having to ask someone. And he actually noticed, and he was happy, and he expressed his gratitude, which made me actually happy to do the chores. And then his good mood actually carried on to the next day when he was driving me back because he was still cheerful. He was still willing to buy me stuff and make little pit stops, so that was great. So what I learned from this experiment was that there's just so much to learn about giving and receiving respect. With strangers, in my experience, there's a lot of ups and downs. It's easy to give respect because I have no prejudice against them, but it can also be discouraging or intimidating because I don't know how they'll react, or maybe they'll just blatantly ignore me. But I also learned that when you do give respect and it's reciprocated, in the case of my dad, it makes you feel like you're much more important, you're much more appreciated and happy. So I gave respect to my father, he reciprocated back, and we both were able to appreciate each other more. So overall, I think that respect should be just practiced until it becomes second nature. I was able to get a great experience out of it that I wish to repeat, and that hopefully I can get with other people outside my family, with strangers and so on. So I think it does really go a long way to just treat others how you wish to be treated.
Thank you. 240.
Hello, my name is Ray.
Hi, Ray.
I really liked your energy. You're really engaging, and I like how you tied everything back at the end with the same quote you started.
Nice bookend, right? What would you like to see done differently that would improve the speech?
Hey everybody, my name is Giovanna.
Hi, Giovanna.
The other thing I noticed that I'm not sure if you mentioned the ugly and the bad stories.
Well, I said in the intro that I didn't really have anything, so I was
She lives a charmed life, so we're no ugly or bad. Only the good.
Okay.
She was walking on the right side of the road.
Well, it was really, really good. Like you said, I really liked your energy, and your voice projection was really good. The only thing, maybe some sentences you would kind of stop and start. So I don't know. That's the only thing.
Okay, thank you, Giovanna. Well, let me ask you, when you were shopping with your father and the impulse to go shopping with your father, that was a result of repeating your mantra and thinking about it, right? And you were repeating it as you were in the store and so forth. I just wanted to make sure that you're practicing the activity as I instructed it. Good. And doing the chores would be a natural impulse of respecting the household and that sort of thing too, and that's good. Did he say, was he ever curious as to the change that had come over you? Did he think you had found Jesus or taken LSD or what? Did he make any comment along that line? Or?
Wow, I'm surprised he did the chores. That
was all he said, huh?
Thank you for doing it.
No, that's good. Well, that's good. On the trying it outside of your family, I would urge you to continue to try to repeat your mantra and send out the good vibes, even though people are digitized up and, in their own world and running to class. Still try to give off the respectful vibrations to the people that are not seeing you or having any of it, okay? And I liked your what I learned section. So you did a good job. I just would have liked you to have filled it out a little more with more of an experience than just your father. But you did a nice job. Thank you. Is that it on respect? Hey. Okay, you're a little taller. You can take a half step forward. Not that much. Right there, yeah. Okay, she's managing attention, communicating respect, finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love.
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
Today I get to tell you a little bit about a respect experiment that I did last week. So I want to start off with a quote by Albert Einstein. He once said in regards to respect that I speak to everyone the same, whether he's the garbage man or the president of the university. And I thought this was a really good quote to exemplify what we were trying to do last week, which was communicate non-verbally to everyone that we respect them. So today I'll tell you a little bit about my good experiences, my bad, and unfortunately my ugly experiences trying to show respect to everyone. So we'll start out with the good. Last weekend I got to go to the LA Beer Fest with a couple of my friends, which was cool. We got to drink good beer, eat good food, and it was a really good experience and to try to communicate to every vendor that we went to that we respect them. So I got to stand in front of them, palms facing forward like we said, making eye contact, repeating the mantra, and seeing if they would respond back to me. And so it was really cool because the first vendor that I went to, I walked up to him, repeated the mantra, and he kind of made eye contact when he spoke to me, but he wasn't really feeling it at first. And he asked, "How are you? What can I get you?" And I said, "Oh, I'm really good. Thank you so much for asking. Can I have this beer?" And it was cool because you could see he stepped back a little bit and he saw that I was really trying to connect with him. And in response, he made eye contact back, carried on a conversation, and ended up actually giving me more beer than my friends, which was really cool. And then trying to do this whole experiment the whole day was cool because then I still got respect from everyone I talked to. So it was a really good feeling to know that I was portraying respect to everyone. However, not all my experiences were that great. On Sunday was super hungry, so I went into Westwood and I went to Gucci, which is this to-go Korean restaurant. And it's not really a restaurant, it's kind of like a stand, and you stand in line and you order your food and then you leave. And so when I was standing in line, I could see there was a homeless man who was coming from my left. So I made eye contact, repeated the mantra, and kind of smiled. And I thought that was it, whatever. But he continued to come up to me, and then he asked, "Do you have any spare change? Can you give me some money?" And unfortunately, I didn't have any change, so I couldn't give him any. So I said, "I'm so sorry, sir. I don't have any change for you. Is there anything else I can do?" And he was just really angry, and he was like, "If you're gonna buy food, you have to have change. I don't understand why you can't just give me some change." And so I kind of wasn't a big fan of that interaction because I just didn't know what to do other than say I'm sorry again, and he just kind of walked away. So it was a really awkward time where I didn't know if he was getting what I was trying to be respectful to him and trying to just be really nice. But that unfortunately also wasn't the worst story. On Monday of first week, I got to go down Broom Walk around 12 o'clock, and if you've ever done this, you know that this is the time where it's filled with flyers. Everybody's trying to give you all their flyers about their clubs and yada yada yada. And I unfortunately didn't want any of their flyers, but I thought it was a good time to make eye contact, smile, and still communicate that I respect them, but I just don't want your flyer. Though telling somebody that you don't want their flyer is not a good thing. Some people will be nice, thanks, but most people are just why did you say no? I don't understand. Excuse me, just take my flyer. And so it was really uncomfortable. I thought I was being really nice, but it just wasn't a good experience. And so from all three of these experiences, they were all different. There were some good ones, there were some bad ones, and there were some ugly ones. And I think the biggest thing I learned from trying to communicate respect was that I always had the ability to do it. I was always could say the mantra, could smile, could do all those things. But in return, some people weren't going to be respectful back, some people were, and some people were maybe going to give me respect in a different way. So I think that the biggest thing that I learned, and to tie it back to the quote at the beginning, is that we can always give respect to others, and that's the most important part, but they may not give you the response that you want back.
Thank you. We're in the back. Yeah.
I thought you did a really good job.
Start with your name.
Oh, sorry.
please.
Amy. My name is Amy.
Hi, Amy.
I thought you did a really good job. Your energy was really good, and you were speaking very loudly and clearly, and not too fast, which was important. So.
You did a follow right in. Thank you. Improvement? What would you like to see her do differently?
Hi, I'm Melody.
Hi, Melody.
I just think you had a really good speech, just sometimes your eyes would wander from like the ceiling to the side of the room, and I just think that maybe like next time have solid eye contact throughout like specific parts.
Good. Were you aware of your eye contact?
Yeah, I
on
felt like I was
Deborah?
kind of being shifty.
Right, you'll see it
Stand up.
when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube. You're doing a little of this. You're also
Dance.
doing what you're doing with your hands. You clasp them together and pinch yourself in reassurance a few times. And so you'll want to leave your hands open as much as you can. Well, you started with a great quote appropriate to the class from Albert Einstein. It's worth repeating. I speak to everyone in the same way, whether he is the garbage man or the president of the university. And so I would have really liked to have heard you more overtly tie back to that by saying, so remember the words of Albert Einstein, who said, speak to the garbage man as the same way you speak to the president of the university. See, that would have been a great bookend. So, you had a good preview, so we knew what was happening. You started with a good, so the narrative was pretty good with your voice. You told us about boozing it up at the beer convention, and you got your way with a lot of the vendors by being respectful, and you got more beer than your friends, and that's excellent, although it's the right thing to do, regardless of whether you got more beer or not. You saw that you can make a positive connection and make their days sweeter too. On your second story, the homeless fella, we've talked about this, about the different mental states of people and the dilemma of giving people not food and help but money that sometimes goes to the wrong activity. And so I think you handled it well, but still you can shoot him some respect as he's walking away, and it's kind of a sad situation. I'm hoping that this new Veterans Center over there in Sepulveda will alleviate a lot of this. As for your ugly Bruin walk, I didn't really get any real bad confrontations. Just they were mainly people were just saying
It was just like the
loud,
amount of
bad
them.
vibes, and yeah. And but if you don't have the time to stop, then you don't have the time to stop.
Right.
So you handled it the best you could, and still saying your mantra. What you learned, I thought, was well put. My only suggestion is just a little better tie back, but you got the job done. Thank you, Stephanie. Is this the last one?
I'm not sure. I think so.
Excellent. Last but not least.
Wait,
Oh no, I'm not the last one actually.
Okay, then we take a half step back, please. I'm gonna have to adjust the camera because you're taller, so sorry. Okay, Jennifer stands before you, managing attention, saying to herself, I respect my audience. Finding friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love.
Hi,
Start your
everyone.
speech.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm really nervous. My name is Jennifer, and
Hi, Jennifer.
during the last 5 days or so, past week or so, I have been communicating nonverbal respect to everyone I know or anyone that I met. And I did this by smiling, nodding, maintaining eye contact, and basically just giving them my undivided attention. Sounds simple enough, right? Like I wouldn't get too much of a variety of reactions. I thought so too, but to my surprise, I noticed that I would get many different reactions based on many different factors, some of which I noticed to be personality, gender, and location of where the encounter took place. So most of the positive reactions that I had generally came from service workers. Now, I'm not sure whether their reactions were exclusive to me or whether they were just obligated to treat every customer in a certain way. But for the sake of the experiment, let's just assume the latter and hope that their reactions were exclusive to me. So when I went up to the register, as soon as I got up to the register, instead of fumbling through my purse or scrolling through my phone, I instead looked up at them and gave them a warm smile and my attentiveness. And this for most was enough for them to want to strike up a conversation with me. And it wasn't your robotic, general, hi, how are you, good, and you, song and dance either. It was more genuine. They seemed delighted and excited to come across somebody who was present in the now and not so consumed with their technology. Which brings me to the good. My most memorable reaction came from a cashier who was ringing up a squeaky dog chew toy, and she commented how she had just adopted her first dog, a black Labrador she named Bo, and she told me how Bo loved getting into her shoes, and she was annoyed by it, but that puppies would do puppy things. And I could tell that she was excited to be telling somebody this, and whether how insignificant it may have seemed to me, it was something that she was genuinely excited to be sharing, and I could tell it was on her mind the entire day, and she was just waiting to feel comfortable enough to share with someone her thoughts. And while most of my reactions were positive, some were negative, and instead of being received with general warmth and friendliness, they were received with fear and intimidation. And I found this specifically to be true with people on campus. I swear I was not being a creeper, but once a large number of people, once they noticed that I was maintaining eye contact with them, they would quickly look away, and it didn't make me feel too good. I felt as if they thought I was Medusa, and they would turn into stone if they gazed into my eyes. Which brings me to the bad. Now this was an example of fear and intimidation, and it actually happened in my film discussion. I decided to experiment with the person sitting next to me, and I faced him and gave him a subtle smile, nothing too obnoxious, nothing too grand, but just enough for him to notice that I was smiling at him. And not only did he refuse to look at me the entire class period, but he just refused my entire direction in general of where I was sitting. And even when we were assigned to talk to the person next to us of a couple of scenes that we had seen in class, I was the only person sitting next to him, and he barely said 2 words to me, and it just didn't make me feel too good. No discussing was accomplished, and my friendliness was rejected. I just felt really bad that instead of like the cashier who I made feel comfortable, he felt uncomfortable. And while he didn't vocally say anything negative towards me, his body language said it all. He would rather just avoid me than to fake it. And I also learned that females generally evoked different reactions than males did. And if males did give me a positive reaction, it was pretty clear that they had something else in mind. Which brings me to the ugly. I was walking towards the parking lot, and I came across someone who I just shot a smile at, nothing too flirty, nothing too lingering. And his reaction was to immediately nudge his friends and say something about me. And I could tell that I was the topic of conversation because they all simultaneously looked up and with the stupidest expression on their face, the stupidest grin on their face. And it didn't make me feel too good. I suddenly found myself feeling self-conscious and embarrassed, and I just looked down the entire time as we crossed each other's paths. And as for what I learned that it really depended on the personality of the person. Outgoing people returned the respectfulness, while shyer people tended to shy away from me. And I also learned that it really depended where we were. Intimate settings gave me better reactions than larger ones. And of course, gender. What a smile would mean to a girl means something different than a smile would mean to a guy. So all in all, I had fun showing respect to people. It was fun seeing their reactions, and as soon as they noticed it for themselves, it was just interesting how the same look, same eyes, same smile emitted a different reaction from different people.
Thank you. Where are we? Here.
I'm William.
Hi, William.
And one thing I liked is that you went really in depth with your stories, so we could both understand the feelings you had when going into these examples and treating people with respect, and how you felt when they reacted accordingly, whether it was good or bad.
Okay, thank you, William. Yes, there was adequate development of her ideas, was there? Thank you. Improvement, what would you like to see her do differently that would make her speech more effective?
I'm Karen.
Hi, Karen.
Overall, I really liked your speech. I feel like you put a lot of personality in it. But I noticed sometimes when you talk, you kind of stop to try to figure out what you say. But I think it's just that for me.
Jennifer.
Yes.
This position with your hands together in front of you precludes any effort to make any gestures of any kind. And I don't want you to have them behind your back, but it's best not to hold them in front of you. It's not effective. It shows a little insecurity, in fact. And so you want to keep them at your side and let them gesture naturally. And that would be more effective. And I know you can do that. I'd like to see that. Well, let's start at the top. Let me say something positive and then go through some things that I think you could do better. I really liked the details that you gave us for all of your experiments, and they were well fleshed out, and so that was excellent. Looking to see for an introduction a poem, a quote, a story, or a joke, something that you can tie back to. And we got more of gee, I did this experiment for 5 days, and I was kind of surprised, and I don't know what you were going to tie back to, but so that was sort of, problematic. Remember not to wear white to class. You blend with the blackboard. Yeah. So all I see is your head in the camera. You'll see tonight.
Sounds creepy.
Yeah. No big deal. I like your first story of your contact with the squeaky dog chews, and that was a positive. I noticed you said I was going to, what you were doing of smiling, maintaining eye contact, nodding, and giving undivided attention. I hope all the time while repeating the mantra, I respect you.
Yes.
And not to make eye contact too long, especially to males, as we've talked about in class, because they're likely to act like the dogs that they are. I just, after 39 years, I get this every class. Oh, she wants me, and it's sad. And I don't know what to do about it exactly, except to just warn people it's out there. On your, what I also would like to see a little bit more of, Jennifer, is your voice the narrative a little better. So the bad, So now let me get you to the ugly. You buried it very smoothly. You had them all, you had the words there, but you buried them within your prose. So, now the ugly. We had to really look for them to find them. Now, I want to talk about this film discussion for a minute because this puzzled me. What did you do to start the nonverbal respect toward, let's call him Joe? Did you look at Joe? Tell us what you did.
Yes,
Here, you be Joe.
Oh, he was sitting next to me, so I was just just gave him a short.
Not a long.
No.
None of this stalkery thing. Just I respect you.
Yes.
Do you suppose Joe was so shy and overwhelmed by your quote looks that he couldn't speak?
He seemed like a shy person in general.
Yeah.
So
maybe we're just talking about somebody that hadn't had a lot of experience talking to the opposite sex or something. I don't know, it sounded that way to me, unless that's why I asked you, because some people are weirded out when they get the long stare and then they go, oh, someone's doing voodoo on me or something, Yeah.
No, it wasn't a long stare.
It wasn't a long stare. Okay. The ugly, yeah. And then you feel like a piece of meat when they're all nudging each other and all that stuff in the ugly. Yeah, I know, that's sort of the way it goes. Sometimes it's useful to, when you're saying what you learn, sometimes it's useful to number them. I learned 3 things, 1, 2, 3, and then tie back. So other than that, you did a nice job. Just work on a little brevity in this, word economy, and make your narrative voice be louder, and I think you'll be much more effective. I know you can do that. Thank you. Okay, we're done. This is the last one. Gee. Stay in the green circle, green square, rectangle. Let's step that way, please. Yeah. And they're talking. So when you see people talking or doing it, you go, yeah. Clear your voice. Managing the tension. All right, she's got her phone out. Communicating respect non-verbally. Finding friendly eyes near the front and center. Say your name. Feel the love. Start your speech.
Hello, everybody. My name is Giovanna Martin.
Hi, Giovanna.
So, Henry Frederick once said, "There is no respect for others without humility in oneself." Many people strongly believe that respect is a quality that needs to be earned when it pertains to others. However, through this experiment, I learned that communicating respect non-verbally to others without knowing who they are is essential, since it demonstrates humility in a person. So for the last week or two, we were assigned an experiment in which we had to communicate respect non-verbally to everyone we encountered. Most of the reactions were positive, as I expected them to be. However, there were a few occurrences which were not as pleasant. So I'm going to share with you guys 3 stories: the good, the bad, and the ugly. My first and good story occurred at the dining halls here on campus. So when eating at the dining halls and receiving my food, I would politely say thank you to the employees who served the food and tell them how much we all appreciate their work. I noticed how their expressions transitioned drastically from serious and indifferent to grateful and appreciative. Due to this transition in their expressions, I realized that these employees do not receive these type of comments from students before, and therefore that caused the transition their expressions. After one particular experience at Genève, the chef now even knows my name, who I am, and serves me extra food every time I go eat there. Okay. So for my next and the bad experience, it occurred while walking down Bruin Walk. So I'm pretty sure that everyone is familiar with the persistent people who are vying for your attention or participation for one of their organizations. To be completely honest, I usually avoid these people. However, for the sake of this experiment, I decided I was going to be more respectful towards them. So, while walking down Bruin Walk one day, a student approached me and asked me for my name. I responded, and she instantly afterwards asked me if I wanted to join her Christian sorority. I kindly responded, "Thank you so much, but I have to deny the offer. However, I hope there are many other girls who will want to join." I thought she would end the conversation at that. Instead, she decided to keep following me and asking me questions about why I did not want to join. She also started asking me whether I had been hurt by religion in the past. Even though I kept assuring her that these were not the reasons for my decision to not join, she kept following me and even followed me all the way to the Bruin crosswalk. So it was hard to pick out some of the ugly experiences since I didn't experience many unpleasant occurrences, except for probably being followed by this one guy at a party on Thursday. So 2 Thursdays ago, when I went with my friends to a party, I noticed the guy who was looking my way, so I decided, okay, I'll just smile back. So I just smiled back without expecting anything in return. However, for the remaining of my time there, I noticed, he came up to me and was asking to bring me a drink or dancing next to me until the point when it got a little too annoying. So I had to ask one of my friends to kindly tell him that I was not interested. So through this experiment, I learned that respect is a principle that is becoming increasingly invisible in our world today. We unfortunately live in a generation where where people only care about what they are dealing with and do not really take in consideration what others might be going through. So therefore, we tend to forget to display respect non-verbally to others. However, it is imperative for us to remember to remain humble and be kind to one another, because we never know what kind of battles other people might be dealing with.
Thank you. Okay. Somewhere here. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Hannah.
Hi, Hannah.
I really like your speech because you had a really clear preview and clear distinction between the good, bad, and the ugly. And I also like your beginning with the quote and tie back to the introduction.
That's very helpful. Improvement. What would you like to see or do differently to be more effective?
Hi everyone, I'm Dominic.
Hi Dominic.
I thought your speech was really well. The only thing that I thought you could improve on was maybe more eye contact with the people. I thought that you were kind of looking in the back, whereas if you were making eye contact with us, it would be more effective.
Okay, Giovanna, were you aware of your eye contact one way or another, or were you thinking about it? Were you over there? Were you over there? Were you in the back? Were you up here? Where were you?
I think I was looking at the walls.
Okay. Well, we'll do a little exercise to help you do eye contact in a second. Let's talk about your speech, though. Henry Frederick, who is he?
To be honest, I don't know.
Okay. Well, it's helpful to say a writer, a poet. If you get a quote off the internet, take the extra moment to find out who they are. But it was a good quote. There is no respect for others without humility for oneself. And you made reference to humility in your final closing, so there was a kind of a good tie back. An even more vivid way to tie back would be to say, so remember what Henry Frederick reminded us of, that there's no respect for others without humility for oneself. That's a real vivid way to tie it back. Good preview. We knew what was coming, so that was excellent. The good, the bad, the ugly. On the good, you tell us that you have made a point to tell the people, I assume you live in the dorms, is that right? You've told the cafeteria, I call it, the whatever, they have a fancy name for it now, right?
The dining hall.
The dining hall, yes, okay. The dining hall, that you appreciate their effort, and not that you do it for this reason, but the chef gives you larger portions, free apple pies, extra, we see this all the time. People just want to be treated with respect. It's just human nature. I would say some of the best stories I've heard from the Hill have been with the workers that clean your toilets, and people really ignore them and don't tip them or compensate them or thank them, and that's a really nasty job. They need appreciation too. On your bad, I guess you handled it as well as you could. She was a true believer, and you just kept repeating the mantra, I hope, but she followed you all the way to the crosswalk. That's a pretty long discussion. She should have gotten the hint, but took her a while, huh? Yeah. On the ugly, once again we have a smile means she wants me and all this stuff. And I was curious about, you said, I had a friend tell him, buzz off. You didn't want to tell him yourself, or how's that work? Or is that awkward? Or you... So she said, hey, she's not interested. Is that how it works in life, or what?
It was a guy friend, so I thought it would be...
Oh, a guy friend. She's with me, baby, or something? Oh, I see. Okay. And what I learned was fine. The final thing I would say is you have a habit of, when you watch yourself tonight on YouTube, you'll see that you clasp your hands a great deal like this when you're speaking. Let them be by your side. Let them gesture more, and you'll be much more effective. But overall, I thought your stories were interesting, and you did a nice job. Thank you. Okay, well, is that it? Give yourself a round of applause. Yay. Okay, well, let's start the intros. Volunteer? Yeah, there he goes. Who's your study buddy?
Liz.
Liz, both of you go up.
Does she also need to go today?
What?
Does she also need to give her speech today?
Yeah.
Because Caesar did her recently, so.
What?
Caesar did her speech recently, so I'm not sure.
So what?
Yeah, okay.
Man up.
Okay.
But I didn't take it up. I did take it up.
Just put your name on it for me. You put that back on your desk for her. Oh, this is your, and you haven't had a chance to do your self-evaluation yet. And I take it you're going first?
Oh, no, I'm going first. Yeah.
What a gentleman. Okay, good. All right, Con is going first, and Con gave me his self-evaluation, which you hand to me before you speak the next time. Thank you. Very nice. Okay, Con's going to speak first. You stand a little off to the side, about right there, just so we can put words with the face, right? Yeah. Okay, and let me do something else real quick with my green stapler. Con stands before you, managing attention, communicating respect non-verbally. He's reading. Fighting friendly eyes near the front and the center. Say your name, feel the love, start your speech.
Hi everyone, my name is Khan.
Hi, Khan.
And I don't know what you think of your study partner, but for me, she is a very inspiring person. I mean, how many people get to say that their study partner is studying in two majors, communication, sociology, in addition to a minor in theater. Additionally, she has also experienced in traveling and also did water polo and track in high school. So she's a very versatile person to me. However, her life didn't start as well because she had to face a lot of struggle growing up, mainly having to move around a lot when she was young. Her past and her exposure to traveling in college led her to having an interest in finding out more about international affairs. Although she is not fully sure of herself of what she wants to do in her future, because she wants to remain open and be spontaneous, but she definitely opened up to continuing exploring international affairs and possibly entering a master program there.
How about a thesis preview? Today I want to tell you her name and I'll give you her past, present, and future.
Oh yeah, and this is Liz Perez and my study partner, and I'm sure you will enjoy meeting her because she's a very open and friendly person. Especially if you like to travel a lot or don't travel much like myself, she can definitely offering some helpful advice on travel. So she is someone that you can definitely learn something new from. To start off, I want to talk about her past. As I mentioned, she grew up having to face a lot of hardship, and one of them being having her parents divorced when she was 10. As a result of that, she had to grow up with her mother, and they have to travel around a lot. However, having the chance to move around in the LA area, a huge touristic city, she was greatly influenced by the music and theater industry. And with a result of that, she decided to minor in theater later on. Although she moved around a lot in her past, most of her travel experience occurred recently here at UCLA, where she had the chance to study abroad in Paris and New York. And as a result of that, she got also recently interested in pursuing and exploring international affairs study. And as of right now, she would like to continue on traveling if possible and expanding her exposure to different cultures. She is also an RA at the moment on the Hill, where she have the chance to interacting and answering student questions about life at UCLA. Even though my study partner have a lot of plans for her future, she is still unsure of where her choices would take her. Because she wanted to have multiple options available for her future, she decided to maybe possibly move to Washington, D.C., where there are a lot of chances for her to find internship and job in the future. Another alternative route that my study partner have planned for her future is to entering a master program for international affairs and continue to expand her knowledge on international matters. As I sum up my study partner future story, I have some of her past, present, and future. Listening to her story, I can definitely see that how each of her experience in life have been influencing her decision. And even though I don't know Liz for a long time, I can tell from her story and experiences, and not to mention, she had to basically study for 3 majors at UCLA, that she have a very strong will, and that she is a person who I can definitely learn from and be inspired by. And now that the storytelling is done, I want to introduce my study partner again. This is Liz Perez.
Thank you.
I'm Jovan.
Hi, Jovan.
I liked your speech. I thought you were very loud. Your voice projected really well, and you made good eye contact.
Loud, good eye contact. What would you like to see him do differently that would make him more?
Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Hi, Stephanie.
I thought you did a nice job. You delivered all your points really well. I think the only thing is, at the beginning, it was a little bit awkward, just the transition between the introduction to the rest of the story. So maybe making that a little smoother would have portrayed and got your points across a little bit easier. But I thought it was really good.
All right, thank you.
Good, thank you. Yeah, you did a nice job. It was filled with a lot of information, Con. But let me make a point to everyone, a serious point, that, and thank you for going first. Let's thank him for going first. Yeah. When it comes to talking about your study buddies, past, present, future, remember I said tell stories about them? I don't want just laundry lists of where they... And you did more of a laundry list than a storytelling. Now maybe she didn't give you a lot of stories. It was hard to pull them out of her. And the way to get stories out of your study buddy is to ask them why. You're interested in theater? Why? You want to be a nurse? Why? And then you get some interesting background stories. Let's start with your intro. Again, folks, write this down in your notes if you don't have this already. I'm looking for a poem, a quote, a story, a joke, or a rhetorical question to start out your intro. What would you call your intro of all those? Was it a story about her?
Yeah, it's like sort of a story about her.
A story about her. It was kind of long, but it was one that said, she's really great. She's a triple major. Wow. That's a lot of work. And so you showed respect to her initially. Wasn't much to tie back to in the end, but you tried to tie back to it. It wasn't really a great grabber. It didn't really stick with me that much, but still that's how you started. Big point, everybody. In the beginning, we want a thesis preview. Today, I want to introduce my study buddy. You say her name, Liz Perez, and I will tell you about her past, her present, and her future. So you give the narrative early, where you're going to go, in a good, loud voice, so we know what to follow. Otherwise, a lot of these first two paragraphs were just fluff, and they weren't set up for a clear communication. So I didn't get a preview. On your significance statement, I thought it was excellent. You sold her nicely. And that's what a significant statement does, folks. It says, you'll really like my study buddy. She's an interesting person that you'll want to meet. On the past, you told us that she had a divorce in her family at the age of 10, and she moved around Los Angeles a lot. And that influenced her a great deal. Again, no story, but lots of little facts. The same with the present. You told us that international studies, different cultures, are in a dorm, but again, laundry list, no story. Future, hard to get a study for the future, going to D.C., laundry list, not a story. Summary, you say, I told you about our past, present, future. You did that nicely. And you can make that more detailed if you want to, folks. Her past in Los Angeles, her present here at UCLA, and her future in Washington, D.C., if you want to handle it that way. So then you say, in conclusion, you hold off, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Liz to the very end, and then you do your tie back, whatever it's going to be, and then you say, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Liz. That's more of what I was looking for, okay? But thank you so much for being the first one to go. What do you think? See that red in my battery? Do you think we can get one more in, or should I change the battery?
Oh, you should change the battery.
Okay, I'll take your advice. Yeah, last time we didn't make it, did we?